Hi, this is Willie Crawford, and we are continuing our series 101 Ways to Make $1,000 per Day Online. And as you can see, um, well, you can't see, but today we were getting into method number 4, which is be a domainer. Um, First question we have to answer is, what is a domainer? A domainer is a person who buys and sells domains name. There's a lot of different models. One is buying them and flipping them right away. Another is buying them, building a site on the domain, and then selling the site. Another is building a site and renting out the site as a lead generation site, which is something I do. Another one is just buying it and holding it. So there's a lot of different models there. I learned to be a domainer about back about 2009, I think it was. I learned from Gene Pimentel at a seminar we both attended in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I went through Gene's course called Domain Profits Boss, uh, which is actually 5 different courses on different methods of domaining, including some where you just like I said, instantly flip the domain, and the other one is you build sites on domains and run them out to, I don't know, beauty parlors, barber shops, whatever. And his course is actually 5 courses in one. So Domain Profits Boss is $185 worth of courses when you add up the value of those 5 courses, and you can get all of that for only $37. I highly encourage you to get it and go through it actually. And you can find that at williecrawford.org/domain profit boss and capitalize D, P, and B in domain profits boss. I also went through some training by Al, Adam Dicker. Adam is a former vice president of GoDaddy, and he's very big into buying and selling domains and also holding on to domains as an investment. When I checked, he has about 40,000 domain names right now, so he is huge into that. I went through some training he conducted a while back where he basically showed you how to select domains, how he values them, and things like that. And if you want to get in touch with Adam, just leave a comment on YouTube asking for Adam's contact information, and I'll get that to you out. So just leave a comment on the video on YouTube. Um, Now, there are 100,000 domain names dropped every day. And what we mean by dropped is the person who owns the domain name or what owned the domain name for whatever reason didn't renew it. And so what happens is the registrar will hold on to the domain name and give the person about 45 days on average to reclaim their domain name for a certain amount of time, depending on the registrar. They can reclaim it just by paying uh, the hosting, the registration fee, and but after so many days, then they have to pay extra. So, for example, I use NameSilo. I'm sorry, I use what do I use? It's my notes somewhere later. We'll look at that. But there are 100,000 domain names that are dropped every day. That is, they weren't renewed. They passed the date when the owner can reclaim them, and so they're made available by the registrars for anybody who wants to claim them. But who has the time to go through a list of 100,000 domain names? You can find that list in there's several places online. But what I do is I subscribe to a service offered by Gene Pimentel, the guy who first trained me on domaining. He has a service called NameSnagger, which only costs $5 a month. What Gene does is he goes through and he looks at the list of all the domain names that are available, and using whatever magic formula he uses, he identifies the top 1%, and he puts out a list of which probably averaging about 200 names on the list. He does that 4 or 5 times a week, and he sends that out to people who subscribe to his service, which is $5 a month. And you can find that at williecrawford.org/name snagger, capitalize the N and the S and name snagger. And that's what I use to quickly look down the list, and I'll grab some days 5 to 10 domain names off of that list that Gene sends out. Um, What you want to look for in domain names, though, is you want to look for domain names that are brandable, you know, and that's um, that's judgment that you develop over time. You want to look for local domain names or niche specific domain names or novelty domain names. You want to look for high search volume domain names. That is domain names where the keywords are have a high search volume. Uh, you want to look for high backlink domains. See some domains because they were only recently um, not renewed, and they're still in the search engines. There's sometimes a lot of backlinks to them, and that comes in handy for another use for domain names, which is you buy a domain name and you put it up on your server, and that domain is still in the search engines with backlinks to it. So when you grab it and people click through from the search engines to that domain name, you get that traffic. So that traffic can be a lot cheaper than buying pay-per-click traffic, much, much cheaper. So that's another use for domain names. Just to set the domain name up on your server and catch all that traffic coming from the search engines. Just by them looking on different keywords. You want short, memorable domain names. You want one-word domain names or two-word domain names. The shorter generally better. And you want to look for .com if you can find those. And again, you want to look for organic existing traffic domains. And you want to look for all types of high-value domains. And we'll get into that in a minute. There's my registrar. I use NameSilo. It's NameSilo. NameSilo will charge, I think currently it's $12 per domain name to register it. And the reason I like NameSilo is, unlike some other registrars like GoDaddy, for example, that tries to upsell you all kinds of services, and what they also do is they'll give you a very good rate on the first year, but when you go to renew it, then it costs a lot more. NameSilo doesn't do that to you. So that's why I like NameSilo. And you can find that at williecrawford.org/NameSilo, capitalize the N and the S in NameSilo. And you'll notice I use a redirect link basically. That's because I can just memorize the name of the product and have a redirect. That way I don't have to remember complex URLs. So I register my domain names at NameSilo. I've been with them for about 5 years now, and I'm very happy with them. Now, when we're looking at domain names, I mentioned that there's like 100,000 domain names every day that are dropped. That is, they're not renewed. Uh, you want to look over the list, like if you get Gene's NameSilo list, for example, uh, name Snagger list, for example, you want to look at the value of the domain name. So there's a number of places you can get free appraisals. You can go to GoDaddy and just enter the domain name in the form, and it'll give you an estimated value. There's also a service called Estibot. Is a subscription service, but they let you do, I think it's 2 domains a day, where they'll give you an estimate. Now, the domain name is really worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. So you can go to 3 or 4 different services, and everyone will give you a different value for a given domain name. And you can ask a bunch of experts, what's the domain name worth? And every expert will give you a different value too. So, they're all subjective. I mean, they look at certain factors like it was a .com. They look at the length of the domain name. They look at the keywords in the domain name and things like that. And that's how they guesstimate a value or establish a value. But it's really subjective. So what I recommend is that you start small. Just buy, I don't know, start out buying just a dozen at the most, and until you get experienced, and then you can, scale up if you want to. I buy 5 to 10 a day on a typical day, and then you can resell domain name. You can hold on to it. You can build on it. You can do whatever you want with it. Um, but again, start small. I have several friends who are very good at flipping domain names. It's very easy to buy a domain name for $12 or even yeah, $12 and then flip it for $100. That's extremely easy. But you can also, based on the domain name, get several $1,000s for it. Again, the value is sort of subjective. I personally know people like my mentor, Gene Pimentel. I think he did one for he got $25,000 for one, and I know another guy who got several $100,000. So I do know people who are doing extremely well buying and selling domain names. The most I've gotten for a domain name that I purchased and then just turned around and resold was $5,000. Still, $10, $12, get $5,000. That's not bad. So we're looking at, again, this is method number four of earning $1,000 a day online. And again, my method is domaining. So I say, give it a shot. See what else. That's all I have in my notes, I think. But again, you can build on some domains and actually build out a website uh, and sell it. There's a lot of places online where you can sell, like Flipper, where you can get a website, especially if you have a record of making X number of dollars per month in sales from that domain name. A domain name is worth, a website is worth anywhere from 30 to 50 times the monthly revenue once you have an established record of making a certain amount per month, then that's very easy to turn around and sell that domain name on a site like Flipper for 30 to 50 times the monthly revenue. So it's a very good business model. This is Willie, and that's all I have on this model. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I'm running on very little sleep right now.